Welcome into our 10 league winners for fantasy football this year. No position preference here. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, maybe quarterback, doesn't matter. Anything that is a league, any guy that is a league winner. Really quickly, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're doing a giveaway right now at 1,000 subscribers. We're giving away a free NFL signed jersey at 500 subscribers. Who it is will be announced. So it's an unknown NFL signed jersey right now at 500 subscribers. We'll announce who it is at 1,000 subscribers. It'll be handed out. The only criteria is that you have to be subscribed. Other than that, Alec, we will go ahead and hop right into this. 10 guys that are going to be league winners in fantasy football this year. Who is your first one here?
Yeah, so my first guy here is TreVeyon Henderson. The hype with him is just real this year. Preseason really started with early camp. They were talking about him being explosive, kind of looking to overtake that Ramondre Antonio Gibson duo, which really wouldn't scare a ton of people in the year of 2025. But and then we saw the TreVeyon Henderson kick return. His first preseason game was electric. And I understand that kick returns are not an offensive stat in fantasy football, but just to see his speed on an NFL field was pretty shocking. We talked about this plenty of times before. His 40-yard dash looked like it was a 4.2 and it was only a 4.43. But his burst is insane. I think that if he gets over 55-60% of the touches this year, he has a chance to be RB7, RB6, somewhere in there with the right touchdown upside.
Yeah. No, well, and we talk about it all the time too, of rookies consistently win leagues when it gets to the playoffs. So if you can find the balance of a guy that can not lose you games early in the year, right? Like, not a guy that you have to pay such a high price on, and he's not going to perform for the first half of the season, but then he's going to be good, but you're 2-6, right? TreVeyon Henderson is not that guy. TreVeyon Henderson is a guy that by week 2 is going to be the starter if he's not by week 1. And even if he's not the starter, he's going to be in a position, because he's so explosive, in which he's going to hit you in that 10 to 12 points in a PPR league easily every single week, I think. So no, I completely agree with that. When you get to the end of the season and he's getting 70% of the snap share because of whatever reason, right? The explosiveness that he has, reminder Stevenson having fumble issues like what he had last year, and TreVeyon Henderson does not fumble the ball, knock on wood. Like, there's a lot of things that I think are compiling into this, but TreVeyon Henderson is setting up to be in an offense that's going to take a big jump. The clear lead back. Those are all really good things when you're looking at league winners here. The guy that I'm looking at here is also going to be the lead back in a very, very good offense this year. It's going to be Chase Brown. Chase Brown's currently going as the RB12. TreVeyon Henderson going as the RB20. I don't know if we mentioned that. TreVeyon Henderson going as the RB20. Chase Brown is the RB12. He was the RB10 last year while winning the starting job. He came into the year as the RB2 on the roster. There is nobody that is going to be taking. Taj Brooks will not be taking meaningful touches away from Chase Brown. And I also think that when you pair that together with the fact that we know this Bengals offense is going to be just spectacular. Chase Brown has proven, hey, I'm a very talented running back. I can be utilized in the passing game a ton. Joe Burrow, you can lean on me. You can lean on me in the run game. You can lean on me on goal line carries. That's something, all of these things combined make me think that Chase Brown at the RB12 value has legitimate RB1 upside if, things go right. Look at a guy like James Cook last year, goes for 18 touchdowns or 16 touchdowns, and he was just in the right place at the right time in a good offense. That's exactly what Chase Brown's going to have, except he also is going to be utilized a lot more when it comes to non-goal line touches, right? And I think that overall Chase Brown's set up to be, you're getting him at RB12. That's his absolute floor. And you have true RB1. If you get him in the second round, as you already went RB in the first round, like if you go like a Bijan, Gibbs, Saquon, and get Chase Brown as your RB2, you have two guys that could finish as the RB1 overall. I absolutely love that.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. He could literally, he has RB1 upside. I really believe that with the right positive touchdown regression. I think this offense is really going to probably be the same this year, just because the Bengals defense looked so bad again in the preseason. And like you said, they brought no one in. I mean, you could argue that Zach Moss last year, they probably thought more of before the neck injury than they do of either Taj Brooks or they brought back Samaje Perine.
Yeah.
The ghost of Samaje Perine's back on the Bengals roster. So yeah, I agree with you here. I think Chase Brown's a slam dunk, especially if you can get him as your RB2 at like the 2-3 turn. I think it's a no brainer.
Yeah, and he's climbing up boards, right? I mean, like he was probably 3 or 4 spots lower, or probably a month ago. But yeah, like what you said, you get him at the 2-3 turn, and you can pair a situation. I've done it in drafts this year where you go Gibbs or Bijan, and then Chase Brown and like Lad McConkey, or Chase Brown and JSN. And now you can hammer wide receiver with some guys that we're definitely going to talk about here later, but you have your RB room set with 2 guys that are literal RB1 upsides. It's hard to turn that down. But no, I love Chase Brown here. Who's your second one here?
Yeah, so my second guy here, he's a little further down the board. So I'm going to go Justin Fields here. So we're kind of big proponents this year of if the right elite quarterback doesn't fall to you, then you just wait. And Justin Fields, where he's going right now, I don't have the exact like what his current ADP is at the moment, like the
What
updated one.
116 overall, QB 13.
Yeah, so if he is healthy and is the starter for 17 games for 17 weeks, he will not finish below QB 13. There's just not a chance with as much as he runs. In 2022, he had 2,200 passing yards and 17 passing touchdowns, and he finished as QB7. So it's literally impossible to have a passing season that bad again. And so the odds of him finishing as QB 13 or lower if he starts all these games is basically impossible. And I think if you can find a QB in the 10th round to be a QB1 for you this year, and potentially, I mean, if he took a step this year with rushing, I mean, he could be a top 6 QB theoretically with the rushing upside.
Yeah. No, and I'm going to group my second guy in here too, because it hits all the talking points. It's Caleb Williams, currently going at QB 15. So both of these guys, if I'm in a league that is, I'm in one league that's full point per completion, right? And that obviously changes some things. If you're in a standard scoring league for quarterbacks, then Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, waiting on them and getting them in the 10th, 11th, 12th round. Caleb Williams is currently going at pick 106. So it's interesting. He's 2 QBs below that, but 10 picks ahead of it in the ADP, just because I'm sure some people reach, right? But like if you can get Caleb Williams or Justin Fields 10th, 11th, 12th round, I love the value that you can get there with them, in pairing like a Caleb Williams with like a Devontae Adams, rather than taking like a Jaden Daniels and a Darnell Mooney. Like the value that you get of a Devontae Adams and Caleb Williams is so much higher than that of a Jaden Daniels and Darnell Mooney. And I think that when you you free yourself up so much, I think, when you're not trying to go quarterback early, because it's truly, unless you go like, the first 3 picks are all running backs, your first 3 picks are all wide receivers, it's truly who's the best player on the board. And I think that when you have the offensive weapons that Caleb Williams has, and you're currently being drafted at QB 15 with an play caller who just led Jared Goff to be QB 6 with literally no rushing upside, I can't look at this offense and say, oh yeah, you're going to finish as QB 15 if you play all 17 games. I think if you play all 17 games, the absolute worst you finish is QB 10. Absolute worst. And same thing with Justin Fields. The absolute worst, if you throw the ball absolutely horrendously, even though you have a college teammate Garrett Wilson as your wide receiver 1, if you throw the ball terribly, you're probably QB 12. Well, perfect. You got your ADP out of the guy, and you also were able to take somebody in the 3rd round, like maybe Garrett Wilson, right? Like, I mean, there's the value is so there. But no, Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, I knew as soon as I texted you this over that your Justin Fields or Caleb Williams was going to be on yours. And the other one was going to be on mine, because these guys, the value is so high on them, and you can get them for so cheap that it allows you to build your roster so well. I absolutely love it there.
Yeah, another guy that you could throw out in the same range is like a Drake May. Like one of these guys that's just in this range, honestly. And if say you crush the first 10 rounds of your draft, I know it's going to sound crazy. You might and you have a couple flexes that you're comfortable with. if it's a one flex league, some of these leagues, you can maybe just take both.
Yep.
And then whatever quarterback kind of hits or has a good matchup that week, you could kind of do your quarterback room that way instead of taking a Josh Allen and just setting and forgetting the whole year. Little more nuance and a little more thinking and strategy if you take two of these guys. But I mean, it could really pay off for you.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree. And you look at it, right? If you have, a two wide receivers, two running back, two wide receivers, one tight end, one flex, you very easily, through 10 rounds could have your entire starting lineup and two running backs and two receivers on the bench, in which you're able to go in rounds 11, 12, quarterback, if you really wanted to. But no, I absolutely love that. I'm going to throw in another guy here, and we're going to get to the receivers. Don't worry. We have plenty of them, and I know all of mine are receivers. But I'm going to go Calvin Ridley, currently being drafted as wide receiver 29. And this is a guy that has relatively no target competition. And so I sit here and I look at him, and how many times do you have guys that have such an improvement in the quarterback play, yet they still are drafted at pretty much what they finished the previous year? Calvin Ridley was wide receiver 28 last year, and he had horrendous quarterback play. Will Levis was a literal meme last year, every single game. And now you have the first overall pick in Cam Ward, somebody who's got very good pocket presence. He's able to extend plays, and that fits Calvin Ridley very well. And you're being drafted one spot below where you were last year. I promise that Tyler Lockett and Xavier Restrepo are not going to come in here and take targets away from Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is the first and third read on probably every single pass. And when you put that together with the fact that they're probably going to be playing from behind in a good amount of games, an improved offensive line, I think Calvin Ridley could finish as a wide receiver one this year. I would not be surprised, because if Cam Ward throws for 3,500 yards, Calvin Ridley is going to have 1,500 of them. That's just how this offense is. And if you tell me Cam Ward's going to throw for 3,500, I've heard crazier things. So I love Calvin Ridley. He's somebody that we talk about the alpha in their offense all the time. Calvin Ridley is the clear alpha in his offense. He could have 30% target share on the season very easily. And I wouldn't think that's crazy. And if you're giving me 30% target share with the number one overall pick at quarterback, that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, and they're probably going to be trailing in a lot of games,
Mhm.
just because their defense is going to be probably pretty bad, like it was last year. So, no, I totally agree. I love the Calvin Ridley pick. I really think Calvin Ridley, if he can catch, I don't know, what do you think, 9 to 11, 9 to 12 touchdowns
Mhm.
with
Yep.
the amount of targets and receptions he has, I think legitimately he's probably going to be somewhere in the range of potentially wide receiver 12 or whatever to
Yep.
18 to 20, which
Yep.
smashes his ADP.
Yes, yes, and well, I mean, you're getting a guy as your wide receiver 3, right? And I mean, he's wide receiver 29 off the board. Overall, he is, or wide receiver 30 off the board. Overall, 67th. So you're getting him in the 6th round, 7th round, and a guy in the 6th or 7th round that is a literal, like we were talking about Josh Allen, put him in your lineup and don't move him, because he's the wide receiver one of his offense. He's guaranteed for 8 to 10 targets a week, and the targets are going to be at least decent quality. I'm not saying Cam Ward's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, but they're way better quality than what they were last year. And if you get that in the 6th or the 7th round of a guy that you don't have to move out of your lineup, it allows you to take swings on guys in the 8th to 9th round that are just booms. It allows you to take a Brandon Ayuk in the 9th round because you're like, screw it. No, I don't need to. I can wait the 6 weeks until he's back, and then maybe, hit big on him for the playoffs, because you have somebody that's as consistently good as Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. No, and so my guy next, we talked about rookies. They win a lot of fantasy leagues just because they're undervalued because we don't know how they're going to play in the NFL. But when they do hit, it's like, how did this guy get this guy in the 5th, 6th, 7th round? So I'm going to go T Mac here, Tetairoa McMillan. I think he's going to be an alpha in this Panthers offense. I don't think Xavier he's not very scary when it comes to taking away targets. I love Jalen Coker. I really do. I just don't think he's going to be a big target share guy. I really like Tetairoa McMillan this year, paired up with Bryce Young to kind of take over like that alpha role, that 27% target share. He did it in college with really poor quarterback play.
Very.
It was his high school teammate at Arizona. But yeah, no, I I don't know. Through the preseason, he's had a couple nice games. He's had a couple nice catches. Looks a lot like Drake London on the field.
Yeah.
He's tall. He's lanky. He just swallows up targets, and we like to target. We like to target people in fantasy that are alphas, and I think he's going to be the alpha of the Panthers, and I think he can help win your fantasy league.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that I think has sold me big time on Tetairoa McMillan is like even in the pre-draft, like the pre-NFL draft profile, the process, everybody's concern was your frame, your athletic ability. Nobody's questioning that at all. Nobody's questioning your hands. But can you create separation at the NFL level? Like, because he didn't really need to in college, right? I mean, a lot of his really good highlights were plays in which he did not have separation and he still caught the ball. And throughout the preseason, he has shown one, he can create separation. Okay, check the box. Two, on times when he doesn't create separation, his athleticism at the NFL level is still good enough to come down with passes. And I think that's the biggest thing is if you're giving me a wide receiver, I gotta be tread carefully here as a Lions fan. I don't want a guy like Megatron who, when he creates space, obviously he's open. That's like any wide receiver. When you create space, you're good. When you can catch passes without creating space, that makes a quarterback love you, absolutely love you. And there was one clip that I loved from the preseason, and it was from preseason week 1 where he runs a slant in the end zone. He doesn't turn his head around fast enough. When he turns his head around, the ball's already there. He misses it. He runs and grabs the ball from the back of the end zone, feels it in his hands, immediately he's going up to Bryce Young saying, "That's on me. That's on me. It's not going to happen again." And we haven't seen it happen again yet. Like, Tetairoa McMillan is going to be the alpha in this offense, and he's going to be a guy that at probably 2 or 3 times this year is going to have 8 to 10 to 12 receptions for like 150 yards and a touchdown in a game, and you're going to say, "Holy crap, why did I take whoever it was over him?"
Yeah.
Like, why did I take George Pickens over him? Why did I take Chris Olave over? I mean, there's a lot of names you could throw out there, but no, I love Tetairoa McMillan there. Two alphas here. You mentioned Drake London, and these are guys that are higher up the draft board here. And it's Drake London, Nico Collins, and these are guys not necessarily that I'm saying you need to draft them above their ADP because it's a steep value, right? It's wide receiver 9, wide receiver 7, but it's more guys that if you're drafting at the end of the first round and you want to pair together 2 elite wide receivers because of the way the board falls, you take Drake London and Nico Collins, and you are set with 2 guys that are probably going to be battling each other and Jamar Chase for the overall wide receiver 1 all year. Drake London was the wide receiver 3 last year with Michael Penix. And Nico Collins was well on his way to 2,000 yards before the hamstring injury that he suffered. I know it came back, but he wasn't necessarily himself. Nico Collins has literally no target competition. He has rookies and Christian Kirk coming off of like a 500-yard season competing with him there. And CJ Stroud loves him. Last year, they had great chemistry. And then obviously Drake London is the clear alpha in this offense. If you didn't get Kyle Pitts in the first round of your draft, that's unfortunate. But you can always get if Kyle Pitts went in the first round, early first, you can always settle and go for London late first.
Yeah, I think if people are regular listeners of us and regular watchers, I think we have a trend with wide receivers, and I think it's just we like alphas on like undervalued alphas on their team.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's funny because we probably say the word alpha too much, so we're gonna try to go the entire rest of the episode without using the word alpha.
Okay.
It's gonna be hard, but these guys are their the team's dominant receivers. And it's you can laugh and say, "Oh, well, that's obvious." If it's obvious, then why is Tetairoa McMillan going as the wide receiver 28, and why is Cal Ridley going as the wide receiver 30? Like, it seems obvious at the end of the year when you say, "Oh yeah, no, Tetairoa McMillan's the clear best receiver on his team." Yeah, of course he's going to be a top 15 receiver in fantasy. Well, that's 15 spots ahead of where he was drafted at. So it may seem obvious, but it's not.
Yeah, to win these fantasy leagues, if you're in a league of 12 people, and right before the draft happens, you have an 8.5% chance of winning. And if you can take shots, like if I'm only have an 8% chance of winning, I'm going to take shots on people. Tetairoa McMillan could be terrible. We don't
Mhm.
know yet. He hasn't played in a real NFL game, but everything is screaming that he's going to be good. And so if I can get an upside guy undervalue that I believe in, I'm going to gamble, I guess, my league win, the league entry fee
Yep.
on those guys
Yep.
because it's worth it because I want to win.
Yep.
But yeah, so my next guy is Ricky Pearsall. I know we're not allowed to say alpha, but I wouldn't truly call him an alpha
Mhm.
of the San Francisco 49ers. I just think his value is fantastic right now. Ayuk, didn't John Lynch, was there John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan that came out and said week 6 probably?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, and then Jawan Jennings has been nursing an injury too for the whole preseason. Don't know if that's a contract thing or an actual injury. I think it's actually a real injury. So it's basically Ricky Pearsall and a bunch of young guys.
Sky
Uh,
Moore's there now.
yeah,
Big
Sky
trade for
Moore.
Sky Moore.
That's pretty crazy. But yeah, so I think Ricky Pearsall has a really good chance to develop chemistry early and potentially kind of be that. I really think when Brandon Ayuk comes back, he's still going to be the wide receiver one there. But I think Ricky Pearsall has a really nice opportunity to be a solid flex for you later in fantasy drafts.
What we've seen before, right, of the wide receiver 2 in a Shanahan-led offense is plenty fantasy relevant, plenty. So, it's not like you sit here and you say, "Oh, crap," but when Ayuk comes back, Pearsall's not gonna play for me. I would argue with that. Also, you can get him at wide receiver 40 right now. So, you can get him
40,
as your wide receiver 5, which is just so dumb.
40.
Let
If
me
you,
let
yeah,
me refresh the page to make sure. But I'm pretty sure, yep, wide receiver 40.
that's insane.
90th overall. So you can get him in the 9th round. Like this is a guy in the 9th round that you take a flyer on, right? And when he hits, he's going to hit. I think if you take a guy like Ricky Pearsall, you can pair him up with some other guys who I'm going to touch on the one of them in just a second because I just the way that it fits. But no, I love Pearsall. This is a guy that ended the year last year with 2 great weeks,
Yep.
right? A 28, 19 points in PPR. And let's not forget, last preseason, he literally got shot. This is the first time he's ran through preseason. And in their preseason game this last week, he looked so good. He was Purdy's by far favorite target. And I know Kittle didn't play, by far his favorite target. But there was one play in particular that gives me a ton of hope is Purdy's scrambling out left. Pearsall's running I think like a dig route, right? And stops, finds the zone, stops, like Travis Kelce Mahomes style. And as soon as he stops, Purdy's putting it in his chest and pause. And as soon as Pearsall stops, Purdy's on the same page as him. And I think what that shows is that the chemistry's there. These guys have had done really, really well over the offseason, and that Pearsall is going to be he's not going to be the alpha because I can't say it. He's going to be the dominant wide receiver
Yeah.
until Ayuk's back. And when Ayuk's back, it's just going to be a 1A, 1B. It's not going to be Ayuk and Pearsall in change. But no, I absolutely love it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And then who's your last guy?
So my last guy, and this is one is Rashee Rice, currently being drafted wide receiver 25. And I want to explain the pairing of him and Pearsall really quickly because Rashee Rice is going to play at least the first 4 weeks and then is probably going to get suspended. The NFL is saying 10 games. I think there's an extremely low chance that it's 10 games. Extremely low chance. If it is 10 games and you get him for your first 4 weeks at wide receiver 25 value, you are extremely likely to win in your first 4 weeks. I will say that is very, very likely. If you have to wait for 10 weeks without him, yeah, that stinks. If you make the playoffs, Rashee Rice is going to walk back into that team and immediately be a wide receiver 1 for you. So that's okay. The suspension doesn't doesn't bother me when I'm paying a 4th round price for him, right? 5th round price for him. That doesn't bother me. But if you go Rashee Rice and then you get a guy like Ricky Pearsall for that weeks 5 and 6 before Ayuk, if Rashee Rice is suspended, then you pretty much guarantee yourself a starting receiver. And then you also have the ability to, assuming Ayuk doesn't come in week 6, immediately be their clear, dominant wide receiver 1. It's going to take maybe a couple of weeks. You have that leeway in which Pearsall can fill a void that when Rashee Rice is out. I think that overall, the value you're getting on Rashee Rice when it comes to the playoffs, that's what I'm looking at. Can I get a couple wins out of you early And will you be there during the playoffs? Rashee Rice will be there during your fantasy playoffs, and you're going to get at least 3 or 4 weeks out of him before that. I don't think it's going to be 10 games. I think it's going to be 8, maybe even 6. If you get 8 or 6, pay the suspension. Also, don't be surprised if this is similar to the Alvin Kamara situation, in which they say, we're already in this season, we're going to suspend him in 2026. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, and then you get him for your full year this year. He should be realistically like the wide receiver 12, 13 if he wasn't going to have the suspension, and there's no guarantee for the suspension to happen in 25 yet.
Yeah, I love what you were kind of describing of if you're going to take Rashee Rice, if he falls to you, say you're in a league and he falls to you even like late 5th, early 6th, people are scared. Just have a plan.
Yep.
Draft a guy with upside that you think's going to break out to replace him if he does get suspended. I love that. Just have a plan.
Yep. Yeah. Make sure when you're filling your flex, fill your flex with a wide receiver, right? I mean, like, which Rashee Rice's current value, he would be your flex, right? I mean, he's currently being drafted as wide receiver 3, but fill your flex with a wide receiver, right? Because you know you're going to need them, right? You know, I mean, don't neglect running back, but make sure you have a wide receiver that you're comfortable starting early. Week 5 to 15. But no, I absolutely love the value. He's by far the number 1 wide receiver with the best quarterback in football as his quarterback. And like, Mahomes loves Rashee Rice. I mean, he tore his ACL last year. I'd hope to think that he's got a couple targets coming his way just as an apology. But they schemed. We talk about that all the time with Rashee Rice. After the bye week in his rookie year, they literally schemed him the ball in an offense that went to the Super Bowl. I think won the Super Bowl, correct? So
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
like, you won the Super Bowl with a rookie wide receiver, and you were saying Travis Kelce's on our team. We're scheming the ball to Rashee Rice right now. I can't speak highly enough on Rashee Rice. Every single time he plays in a football game, if he plays the entire game, he's going to be a top 10 receiver that week.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so my last guy, if you've been on X, you've been on Twitter, you have seen this guy. It's Bill Croskey-Merritt. Brian Robinson gets traded today. Really big news.
Very.
Really big news. So basically, the Commanders' new RB room is Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, and now Bill Croskey-Merritt. I would be really shocked if Chris Rodriguez kind of took over that role. Wouldn't be surprised. I could see him being on the goal line. I think they love Bill Croskey-Merritt. I really do. I think he's going to smash his ADP. What's his current ADP right now? I know he's flying up boards.
He is actively flying.
I don't know if it's like would be accurate. But I think any chance that you can snag this guy at a reasonable price, just do it.
It's saying real time, which is providing the update, is running back 41 still, which is in the range of your Najee Harris, Tank Bigsby, Ramondre Stevenson, Jaden Blue would be right.
Yeah,
there.
and there's a lot of people that aren't crackheads like me and you that aren't on Twitter and aren't on X and that are following fantasy football news that have no idea who this guy is in your home leagues, like with your buddies, some of your friends, no idea who this guy is.
Yep.
And that's where you take him in the 12th, 13th, 14th. Well, I mean, you just need to get him because I think he's a rocket ship. And okay, if he bust, took him in the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, whatever round. It's not that big of a deal. But if he hits, he's a league winner.
Yep. Absolutely is. Yeah, no, and we always talk about this too, is how do you win leagues? Do you get points for your bench? No, you get points for your starting lineup. So if you have a starting lineup that's set, right? You have guys like Bijan Robinson and Chase Brown as your RB1, RB2, and your flex is somebody like Tetairoa McMillan. And you're saying, okay, assuming my team stays healthy all year, what bench guy can I draft that's going to outscore Tetairoa McMillan in the fantasy playoffs in the 12th round? The list goes from like here of guys that can be serviceable to like 3 guys probably. Bill Croskey-Merritt is one of them. He could have 30-point weeks in fantasy football. You won't find many guys in the 12th round that are going to have potential to have 30-point weeks. I'm going to go look at the range that he's in. I mean, you're looking at like a Khalil Shakir, Jordan Mason, Javonte Williams, and that's assuming his wide receiver or running back 41 value, which is adjusted. So in that range, you're just not finding guys that are going to have potential to go for 30 plus. So no, unless you're drafting a handcuff to somebody that you own, I absolutely love taking Bill Croskey-Merritt, especially if you're in a league where people maybe don't. Yeah, like Alec and I spend 6 hours a day on Twitter.
Literally though, and like say Bill Croskey-Merritt doesn't hit right,
Mhm.
and they go with Chris Rodriguez, who has a career 4.9 yards per carry that I looked up today. Like you could pick him up off waivers.
Yeah.
So like you just need a share of that backfield because Austin Eckler at 30 years old ain't it.
Mm-mm.
So you're just banking on the talented rookie that made them trade their starting running back after in week 3 of the preseason. That's not normal at all. That's not normal behavior.
Also, like, let's not forget the fact that Brian Robinson is making $3 million this year. $3 million this year. You're not trading Brian Robinson to clear up cap space. That is not the reason. You're not trading him because he's got a shitty attitude. This dude, like, you're trading him to open an opportunity for somebody. Chris Rodriguez has been there. Chris Rodriguez has not done anything for me. 4.9 yards per carry. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad by any means.
It's like 100 carries.
But like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's of the 100 carries, how many of them are in games that are 20+ point games? Like, so you are opening a door for somebody that is certainly not Austin Eckler, more than likely not Chris Rodriguez. It's probably Bill Croskey-Merritt. But no, I absolutely love that there. So there you go. There are 10 fantasy league winners for this year. Of these guys, I feel very confident that we're going to go 8 out of 9 of these guys at least outperforming their ADP. And barring injury, I don't think any of these guys are going to finish more than maybe a couple spots below their ADP at absolute worst situation. So no, I love these 10 guys here. Make sure to stay tuned. We have more content coming every single week. We are 2 weeks away from the NFL season. The days are counting. The days are dwindling, Alec, until we have Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, and in there 7 hours of commercial-free football as well.
Well, commercial free.
Yeah, ESPN bought it now, so it's going to be. Let's go to the quad box, and 3 of them are commercials, but one of them,
and the other one's Stephen A. Smith talking.
Yeah,
So.
literally. But either way, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.